We'd like to welcome all of you to the Massillon City Council meeting for Monday, September 21st, 2020. We have in attendance with us tonight the following city officials. Madam Clerk, if you would take a roll call. Diane, are you on? Diane? Diane, are you on? Okay, Mayor Kathy Catazero Perry.
Good evening.
Good evening. Safety Service Director Barb Sylvester.
Present.
Auditor Jane Ferraro. Chief Deputy Auditor Debbie Bonk. Law Director Justin Richard, and Bill Bartos.
Here.
Was that Justin?
Bill Bartos.
Thank you, Bill. Chief Engineer David Kroc. Jason
I'm
Popeil.
here. Hello.
Jason, thank you. Community Development Director Samantha Walters. Economic Development Director David Maley.
Here.
Parks and Rec Director Steve Pedro. Parks and Rec Superintendent Joe Pape. Golf Course Director Carrie Lowry. Treasurer Maud Slagle. Police Chief Keith Moser. Fire Chief Tom Bergosser. Income Tax Director Lori Cottagides Boron.
Here.
Wastewater Treatment Plant Manager Tony Ulrich. Anybody from the Parks and Rec Board? Chief Building Inspector Frank Hilla. Health Department Commissioner Cherry Argent. Housing Director Beverly Lewis. Street Superintendent Lee McBride. Code Enforcement Officer Jimmy Johnson. Thank you, and all are welcome. Before we begin, I need to make sure that Madam Clerk, are you there recording? Nancy Halter, are you there?
Access code or meeting number followed by pound.
Mr. Bartos, are you at City Council? Am I on mute?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, any thoughts on where Diane is? Because I don't feel very safe continuing if this meeting is not
She's
going to be
recorded.
taped.
I'm
sorry.
Madam President,
Yes.
this is Bill Bartos. I'm in the office. I just checked in with Diane. She's trying to get through. Her and Nancy are both in the office. They're on the computer, but they're having trouble getting through. So she is working.
We will wait for them.
Enter your attendee ID or
Sorry for the delay. I'll be very anxious to get back into the building.
No, we don't have, yeah. We have a refrigerator full of crap.
Hello?
Hello?
Who's got a refrigerator full of crap?
Pardon me?
Someone said they have a refrigerator full of crap. I think that probably needs to be cleaned out.
Yeah,
Who's speaking?
I'm dialing into a meeting.
Okay, if you could mute your mic, please, we'd appreciate it.
Mr. Bartos, I'm assuming that our council clerk is trying to call in and use that for her audio.
Yes, I believe she has a microphone that she uses. I think she it's either through her phone or through her computer. I could be wrong, but it looked like she had a microphone device when I peeked in. I just peeked in to see what the status was, and then they were working on it. She asked if we could hear her, and I told her no.
You'll let us know when she's up and running.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
There we go.
Yes?
yes.
Okay.
I've
All
already done a roll call of the city officials.
Yeah, I got that. I could hear you, but you guys couldn't hear me.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
not a problem. Been there, done that.
Okay.
All right. Under number 5 on the agenda is where the public may speak on any item that appears on tonight's agenda. And then under number 17 is where the public can speak on any item that does not appear on tonight's agenda. I'd like to ask all of you, please, to mute your microphones unless you are speaking so we can eliminate unnecessary background sounds. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Creamer,
Present.
Greg,
Present.
Halter,
Here.
Hearn Kane,
Here.
Price,
Present.
Littman,
Here.
Lombardi,
Here.
Starrett, and
Here.
Barrett. Roll
Here.
call of 9 present.
Thank you. Councilman Gregg?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to invite all who are attending and listening to join us in the Lord's Prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Gregg, Chair of Rules, Courts, and Civil Service, who gave the invocation and led us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, are the minutes of the previous meeting transcribed and ready for public viewing?
No, I'm still working on them.
Okay. We're at number 5 on the agenda, where anyone from the audience may call in and speak on any item that does appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please state your name.
Nothing's on there about that.
Excuse me? Whoever's speaking, please do not interrupt. Anyone from the audience may speak on any topic that does appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please state your name, address, topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less.
That now,
Right now.
starting now, she said.
Hello?
Yes.
I had trouble getting connected up. My name is Michael Verant. My wife Jane and I live at 1760 Springhaven Circle Northeast. And I would like to make a comment about the proposed rezoning of the St. John's Church property on Wales Road. Is that on the agenda tonight?
Yes, it is on the agenda tonight, Mike.
Okay. Well, I just, needless to say, we're very much against rezoning. And your no vote will help preserve a great Massillon neighborhood. And we feel we are taxpayers too, and we need your representation. Sometimes I feel like we are like second best, and we're not really getting enough attention as far as our side of the situation is. You know, when you drive down Wales Road, we have to look at these giant obnoxious signs that I'm sure were paid for by the Progressive Auto Group. And these signs depict a beautiful artist rendering of a park-like setting stating "Make Massillon Better." Well, I don't know what dream state was the creator of that slogan was in, but in no way will this make Massillon better. It's a parking lot, and it's going to be in our backyards. My wife and I would have never, ever bought a building lot here if it had a car dealership behind it with several hundred cars. We don't want to see a business encroaching so close to it where it does not belong. You know, this Progressive threatened City Council with leaving Massillon. Well, what if 50 or 100 families leave because they feel like the city has treated them unfairly? I think City Council should consider all this. There's lots and lots of people in this area, not just on Springhaven, that don't want this rezoning change. Please vote no and give us some good representation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else wishing to comment?
Yeah.
State your name, address. Hello?
Hello?
State your name and address, please.
Oh, is it? No, this is the same Michael Verant that was on before.
Okay. If you could mute your mic. Anyone else wishing to speak to
Madam
council?
Madam President,
Yes.
Scott Graber, 1218 Tremont Avenue Southwest.
Thank you, Scott.
Progressive Chevrolet has been a great corporate citizen of the city of Massillon for well over 50 years. And I am not opposed at all to the rezoning that they seek. I do believe that you have a seller who wants to sell, a buyer who wants to buy, and is not going to harm the local neighborhood. And they have done great things for the city of Massillon for all those decades. The only thing I do want to say is that this is in no way an emergency, and the people opposed should have the opportunity to put this question before the taxpayers, before the electors. And so I do hope and pray that the city council excises that emergency language, which will allow the opposition to circulate referendum petitions and refer the question to the electors. Let the people decide. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Anyone else?
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes, I'd like to speak, please. My name is Randy Lamp. I live at 1256 Lenox Avenue Northeast, Massillon. I first want to say that I had difficulty getting on this phone call, which I believe many people will, because there was a second number or a second access code number that we weren't aware of until just a few minutes ago. We passed out about 150 flyers with this information, and unfortunately, that information wasn't available to us when these flyers were passed out. After saying that, my wife and I are both opposed to this rezoning concept. I'm actually surprised it has gotten this far. There are literally acres of commercial property available in Massillon, sitting vacant. Why would the city sacrifice another neighborhood for more commercial property when what is there isn't being used? We have nothing against the church or Progressive Auto Group. We are only trying to protect our neighborhood. Progressive said they need more parking space, but they have passed on several existing commercial properties that they could have used for just that purpose. The church wants to sell the property for a commercial value when it isn't a commercial property. Why not sell it for what it is and for what it is worth? I have talked to literally dozens of my neighbors. Not one of them wants this property to be rezoned, not a single person. I am convinced that nobody involved in this issue on any side of the issue would want this in their own neighborhood. Just ask yourself that question. Please oppose this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Anyone else wishing to speak?
I would like to speak, please.
Go ahead.
Craig, Madam President, this is Craig Sanders, owner of Progressive Auto Group in Massillon.
Yes, Craig.
I've put a lot of effort, met with a lot of neighbors, and I believe that the plan that we have is the first plan and the only plan that addresses all of the issues that the neighbors have presented to me. I have spent or will be spent, spent and will be spending a lot more money to protect the neighbors by executing the plan that I've set forth and that was approved by City Council. I truly don't believe that it would affect the value of the neighbors' homes, that it would affect their well-being, or that it would change their quality of life. If anything, because I bring a lot of people into this area. We sell a lot of cars to people who do not live in Massillon. And when they come in here, many of them have comments about the church. And they think that that is a commercial property. The building looks like an office building. It does not look like the type of church that a lot of people would expect to see or willing to fight for. It's an old building that's run down, and I think it's hurting the property values of those people who live in or near and around this area. And no one seems to bring any alternative solutions. The church had this property for sale for a long time, and no one has made an offer on it. This isn't a matter of we're paying a premium, like Mr. Lamp said. We're paying a fair market price. We let this property sit vacant, or we basically let it sit listed for a long time, not vacant. But we came in after there were no other options. I am also a neighbor. I have a big investment right next door. Those people who live near here, who say they don't want to live next to a car dealership, well, they already do. They live next to a car dealership, they live next to a Walgreens, and they live on one of the busiest intersections in Massillon. Not only that, but almost in Stark County. It ranks right up there with some of the highest traffic counts, Wales and Hills and Dales. So my proposal, I would execute it. I would do it right. I would do it so that it makes the neighborhood a better place. I would do it so that we can grow. I was just approached by Jeep today. They want us to add on to our Jeep facility. I can't do these things unless I have the space. And yes, there are other places that are available. There's a lot of vacant land. There's a lot of different things that we could do. I've never once threatened that I would move out of town or that I would take my business elsewhere. I like it here. I'd like to continue to grow here. I employ a lot of people that live in and around this area, as well as people from outside the area. But I want to be able to grow. And when you have a piece of property that at some time will be vacant, sitting right next to you, as a business owner, you want to buy it so that you can expand. And I truly believe that by doing the things that we would do to limit access, the public would not be able to get into that property on Wales Road. They'd have to go through our Chevy store. We would build ramps. We would be spending a lot of additional dollars to make this nice for the neighbors. I don't have to do that, but I feel like it's the right thing to do. And that's what we would do because we have been in Massillon since 1939. And we haven't been on Hills and Dales Road since 1939. We've been on Hills and Dales Road we moved here in 1975. So a lot of the people that are going to comment on, this project probably moved into their homes at a time basically where they knew that Progressive Auto Group was already there. So by us acquiring this property and having us do it, not someone else, and helping us expand and put a parking area there, it would solve a lot of problems. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this topic?
Madam President?
Yes, I would like to speak, please.
Okay, one at a time. We'll listen to everybody.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Jamie
Next.
Slutz. This is Jamie Slutz. I live at 1752
Jamie.
Springhaven Circle. I live at 1752 Springhaven Circle Northeast. I am opposed of this dealership in my backyard. I moved here 5 years ago because this is one of the nicest neighborhoods in the city. I bought my property, which is adjacent to the church property, not thinking that there would be a dealership in my backyard in 5 years. Had I known that, I wouldn't have bought the property. As it is now, I'm looking out my window, I see the church. I don't see the dealership. Mr. Sanders said that, people bought this knowing there was a car dealership in the neighborhood. Yeah, there is a car dealership, but I can't see it from my house. And I don't want to see 450 cars in my backyard. I have a daughter that plays up at the church, the playground up there. All the neighbor kids play up there. I just think it's a bad idea for Springhaven, for the city. Like Mr. Lamp said, there's plenty of property in the city. Kmart, Fisher's, and many more. I think it would be a safety issue for the neighbors. If I wanted to have the dealership in my backyard, I bought a house on Nutmeg Circle or one of those streets where I could see the dealership, but I didn't. I know people cut through the fence at Progressive Chevrolet in the past, stealing tires off cars. And I don't want those people going through my backyard to get to these cars, because next thing you know, they're going to be breaking into my shed. And I don't want that. I don't think that's good for this neighborhood. I don't think it's good for the city. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Jamie. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Madam President, I yielded to the gentleman, and can I speak now, please?
Yes, thank you.
Larry L.J. DeLuca, 2954 Veterans Boulevard, Southeast Massillon, Ohio, 44646. Thank you, Madam President. And I listened to all these folks that are my fellow Massillon citizens. But I have to tell you, Mr. Sanders, Craig Sanders, I know his dad, Dan Sanders, I've been involved with them, and they do a lot of fundraising for the city of Massillon. I live over here at the Legends of Massillon. We have people, I've heard somebody say that they're throwing paper. It's going to be more paper on Wells than that with Progressive expanding. We live at the Legends of Massillon, and just as you go down there to the Legends of Massillon golf course, we have people, very good citizens over here, that pick the papers up and they go down in that, maybe for exercise or not, but they pick the papers up. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Craig Sanders. I know his father, I know his brother and everything. They worked in every department. They know everything. They have this city at heart, and I just don't appreciate Some of the citizens, I understand I don't live in that area, okay? But we had a thing like this at one time over on Wise Avenue. You guys know where Acme Fresh Market was. We were on a little street there at one time. Then we moved to Avondale. They put the big Whipple Avenue through there. Things change, people. Things change. He wants the better for Massillon, Ohio. And I can tell you this, I understand you don't want cars in there and people breaking, going into with taking car wheels off. But I got news for you. They do that in every neighborhood. They did it in some of the better neighborhoods where I lived in Pittsburgh and so on and so forth. So I just don't like the people with, I know they have concerns about their house and the value. We had the water park over here to contend with. Some of the people I know, Fidel and that, were going to put a water park in here. And it was a big uproar at first. But I can understand where you're coming from. But I just want you to know that the Sanders family will do what's right. They'll work with you and make it right. And I can't say enough about Craig Sanders and his father and the whole family and what they've done for Massillon to make Massillon what it is and all the fundraising and everything else. Thank you, Craig, and your family, and thank you for listening. I really appreciate it, and thank you, Madam President, for the time.
Thank you, RJ. I have a constituent texting me saying that they don't know what the code number is. They're having trouble getting on. If anyone has that, if they could read it. So I guess that's not going to help, is it? I apologize to the public. I don't know, other than you will have a chance to talk again. I believe tonight it will not go to vote because we have to have a public hearing. So I do apologize for that. Anyone else?
Madam President, can I speak again?
Who is it? Not that it matters.
My name is Randy Lamp.
Yes, go ahead, Randy.
This idea that it won't affect our property values, we've had 3 realtors contact us just as a knee-jerk reaction to the idea of this rezoning, and all 3 of them said the same thing. It will affect property values, and it will affect property values and quality of life throughout Massillon, no matter what people are trying to say. And as far as Mr. Sanders goes, I have met with Mr. Sanders on several occasions throughout this whole issue. I don't dislike Mr. Sanders. In fact, the matter is, I think he's a good, hardworking guy. But this is not about Mr. Sanders or Mr. Sanders' history or family's history in this city. This is simply about a residential property that they want to change commercial. And the only reason the Progressive Chevrolet and Walgreens and all of them are there is because Jackson and Perry Township didn't care what was put there back in 1975. I grew up in Massillon. Every car dealership, probably a dozen of them, everyone left the city, including Progressive Chevrolet. Everyone. And now they want to bring it back into the city, into a residential property. And that property is there and zoned that for that reason, to protect us. And I would really appreciate it if the misinformation that's being spoken would be pulled back a little bit. Thanks again for listening to my comments.
Thank you, Randy. Anyone else?
Madam President.
One at a time, and I will listen to everyone. Go ahead.
Madam President, this is Council Clerk. I just wanted to inform the people that the meeting site is changed every week for the council meetings and the work session on our website.
Thank you, Diane. Anyone else?
Madam President, I have something to say.
Go ahead.
I'm calling to say I'm
State
100%.
your name and address,
I'm
please.
sorry. Stacy Hudson, 700 8th Street Northeast, Massillon. I'm calling to state that I am 100% completely against this rezoning. I don't mean to be rude, but Craig Sanders is a salesperson, and he's putting money into his pocket by getting people to believe his pitch. The pictures are pretty, but I don't believe that's what's going to happen. What's it going to look like in the wintertime? You're thinking of allowing a business to put money in their pocket by taking money out of these homeowners' pockets by devaluing their properties. You know, I feel it's council's duty to preserve our neighborhoods, build up and improve our neighborhoods and bring families in instead of making us leave for better. I myself, I know what it's like to look out my second story window and walk away in disgust from what I'm seeing. And I would ask, would you want to look out and see hundreds of cars? You need to stand with these Massillon residents and side with them, not someone who doesn't even live here. You need to set a standard that you will only work to improve our residential areas by restricting businesses from coming in and taking over. You should be fighting to keep your residents and not be pushing us out. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Stacy. Anyone else? Hearing none, we're going to move into number 6 on the agenda, new and miscellaneous business. I had asked the mayor if she would comment on what is going on with trick or treat in Massillon, since people are questioning me.
Mrs. Eisnick, would you like me to speak?
Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone. This is Mayor Kathy Catazero Perry. And we received some communication from the Stark County Commissioners last Friday. And we'd like to announce that we will be having trick or treat in the city of Massillon. It will be October 31st, which is a Saturday. That's different for us, from 3 to 5 p.m. We will be releasing a press release tomorrow, as well as a flyer that really gives some precautions for our residents and our families. So we ask that you please pay attention to that. We will also place that on our website. We do not want people to go in large groups. We'd like you to go with your family or family members, extended family members. We ask that you don't have large parties, that you have parties, if you want to have a gathering of 10 or less, we ask that you keep your circle small. And then also we ask that you do not hand the candy. People are creating these slides, these cone slides, really creative, and we'll try to put a picture of that up as well on our website, so that you're about 6 feet away from those that come to your door. And if your home is going to participate in passing out treats, we ask that you turn your porch light on. And we'll give more details tomorrow on our website. We may even do a video so that we can share it with our social media partners. And we just want everyone to have a good time, but be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Lombardi?
Yes. Today, oh, go ahead.
As we're trying to get back into the building, can you update us on what needs to be done yet before that can happen?
Yes. Today, we received the equipment from Ohio Tech Works, and I picked that up and delivered it to council chambers. The music shop is still waiting on the 2 audio boxes that we need, and once those come in, Bob will schedule a time to get up there and install those. Once they're installed, we'll be all set to go.
Any time frame on that?
I thought Bob was thinking that they should be in tomorrow, but I will call and check, call him tomorrow morning and check with him just to make sure, and I'll give you a call and let you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think Councilman Lewis and I talked that we would like it to be tested on a committee meeting rather than on a council meeting. So if anything goes wrong, it's all on him, not me. Ha ha.
Yeah, that's fine. Once it's all hooked up, we can use it, when we're prepared to use it. We don't have to jump right in. So if it gets hooked up and the next meeting's a council meeting, then we can just wait a week.
That would be
Go
great.
from there. And I'll test it. I'll take my own personal laptop down there, and Diane and I can work to test it a little bit as well.
Great, thank you. I would like to let council know, and anyone that's listening in tonight, that once we're in, there still will be a 6-foot minimum for anyone else, and I believe in the back of the room, we could fit I believe it's 6. Diane, is that the correct number we talked about?
Yes.
So people could come from administration if they wish to. At this point in time, we'll still have to call in.
Correction, Madam President, that would make it up to 12. Because we would put one on each end of the set of chairs.
And in the middle, we were going to put a chair in the middle.
I'm talking about back in the galley.
Right, and every other row. So 3 in the front row, skip a row, and then 3 in the next row.
Okay.
So we maintain the 6 feet. I thought was what we had talked about.
Yeah, that would be 6.
Okay. All right. Anything else under new miscellaneous business? All right. Introduction of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 88, 2020.
An ordinance amending the zoning of the city of Massillon, Ohio by rezoning a certain real property from R3 one family residential district to B3 general business district.
Councilwoman Barrett.
Is zoning map. I'm sorry, not zoning may, zoning map.
Thank you. Councilwoman Barrett.
Thank you, Madam President. I do intend to just give this ordinance first reading tonight, but I do want to just clear up a couple things that I've been hearing. I just want to make it clear for those on the call and the general public that if this ordinance were to pass, that this property will only be rezoned if that property is then sold to the Kai Bob Land Development LLC, which is the LLC associated with Progressive and Mr. Sanders. So that rezoning won't happen unless that purchase does happen. And then also, it also will not happen, and this is in the legislation, unless that restrictive covenant is executed, and that restrictive covenant that we spoke about does include the description of the improvements that would be made by Mr. Sanders and Progressive Auto Group, which was also presented to the, my apologies, the zoning board, and that was what was passed by them. So those 2 things have to happen for that property to actually even be rezoned. So if that legislation were to pass, the restricted covenant would have to be in place, as well as that property be transferred to Progressive Auto. So it's not as though a McDonald's could be placed there or Mr. Sanders could do whatever he wanted with that property. Those restrictive covenants are in place to protect that property and make sure what is planned does actually occur. Beyond that, I do intend to just give this first reading tonight, unless other council members do have any comments to make at this time. Madam President, I do see Ms. Littman raising her hand.
Councilwoman Littman.
Thank you, Madam President. An individual during our public speech section mentioned the referendum petition option. I was wondering, Ms. Starrett, if it would not be prudent for us to have Mr. Bart what that process could look like and what kind of timeline that type of process would take.
Linda, you did cut out a little bit there, but I do have that marked down as something we need to talk about at the next meeting, at the work session, as to whether we feel that emergency language should be removed from this ordinance. So I think that's something we can address at the next work session and have that conversation. So
would Mr. Bartos be able to be part of that conversation as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think we need to have a discussion on it at the work session.
Thank you.
First reading.
Councilwoman Starrett.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Sorry. Habit.
That will have a public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, I will be in touch with Diane after this meeting to schedule that, and we will have that scheduled hopefully by the next work session. That has to be advertised for 30 days. So that public hearing has to happen before we can have a vote on that. So that we are looking at least 30 or more days out until this comes to vote.
Thank you very much. Ordinance number 88, 2020 has received first reading. Ordinance number 89, 2020.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio to transfer parcel number 10003720, former Affinity Medical Center, located at 845 8th Street Northeast, Massillon, Ohio, and parcel number 10000149, former Affinity Medical Center parking lot across 8th Street Northeast, from the City of Massillon to the Community Improvement Corporation of Massillon, CIC, and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Starrett?
Thank you, Madam President. This piece of legislation is the legislation that we spoke of at the work session last week. In order to transfer the Affinity Medical Center property, there are 2 parcels in this ordinance. To transfer that to the CIC in anticipation of auctioning that property off using Kiko auctioneers. I would ask if Mr. Maley could speak on this, because I do believe there was something they wanted to add to the legislation about the city having to take care of the expenses of the hospital even after it has been transferred to the CIC.
Mr. Maley, if you could.
Yes, Madam President, Councilman Starrett. We had, talking with Bill Bartos, we came up with an amendment. I believe Diane should have a copy of the amendment that we would like to amend the ordinance. I can speak to the amendment. It basically says the Director of Public Service and Safety is further authorized and directed to agree to any terms and or enter into any supplemental agreements with the CIC that, as a condition of the aforementioned transfer, a portion future expenses, utilities, etc., related to the above real estate property between the City of Massillon and the CIC. In essence, what this would do would be allow the city to pay the expenses while the property is in the CIC's name throughout the auction and when it gets actually transferred at the deed gets transferred.
Councilwoman Starrett?
Thank you, Madam President. I do want to, at this time, make the motion to make that amendment, including that language that Mr. Maley did just read to the council, to include that language in ordinance number 89-2020.
Have a second?
I'll second, Mrs. Halter.
Second by Councilwoman Halter. Roll call for the amendment.
Madam President, I have questions about the amendment.
Councilman Lewis?
I just want to be clear, like, the way that amendment read, it sounds like it's saying that we're allowing or permitting the mayor to go into agreement with the CIC, any amendments that needs, but we haven't seen those amendments. Correct?
You did not receive that.
Mr. Barton?
I'm sorry, but I thought I sent this out Friday.
No, I mean like the amendments to the contract. You sent your thing out. I'm not saying that, but like we haven't, like, it speaks to the contract or the agreement with the CIC, the transfer to COC, and then that there will be this other nebulous contract, but we haven't seen that or agreement, correct?
You have not.
What I'm talking about?
Councilman Lewis, I'm sorry, I'm having a lot of feedback. Are you talking about the actual contract for the Kiko contract, Councilman Lewis?
No, I'm speaking with the CIC. The way you worded it was that we would transfer the property over to the CIC and it becomes their property.
That's
and
correct.
Then that we are authorizing the safety service director to go into agreement with the CIC to cover the expenses of the property until sale, correct?
That is correct. That's what the amendment does, yes.
But we haven't seen that agreement from the CIC. So you're asking me to give a open-ended blanket authorization to the safety service director without seeing the exact language that she'll be agreeing to.
Mr. Bartos, do you have any comments on this?
Yes, this is Bill Bartos. I think the councilman is correct. The agreement that is a contemplated one. This was brought up, I think, later in last week, and so we came up with the best amendment that we could at the time to bring before council, given the expedited nature of this request. If council would like to see an agreement of this nature, we'd have to probably work through it with the CIC. I'm not sure what that would take. We could, have a draft of it, prepared and presented to you. But I think essentially, it is what Mr. Maley is saying, and it's because, as the auditor brought up correctly to Mr. Maley, without some sort of contractual agreement or anything to the contrary, the city can't, pay bills, for a property that's in the CIC's name. And so the idea was to contractually deal with that issue. And so I think it's a fairly straightforward issue, but I understand Member Lewis's question, and I think it is a valid question. So that's all I can say at this point. It was an expedited request. So,
Madam President, if I may, Mr. Maley, isn't it correct that we did this in a separate piece of legislation before when we transferred pieces of property to the CIC, where we used a piece of legislation to authorize the city to pay the expenses for those pieces of property?
Yeah, that is correct. And when we did if you remember earlier, when we did the medical buildings that we had Kiko auction, we transferred the property to CIC, but we also had a second piece of legislation that basically leased the property from the CIC. The city leased it from the CIC basically to pay expenses for the property. That's how we went around that way. I had that discussion with Mr. Bartos. He felt it was a simpler mechanism just to do it this way than to do it. I mean, basically, we're accomplishing the same thing.
Thank you, Mr. Maley. Councilman Starrett?
Well, at this point, if Mr. Bartos feels we're accomplishing the same thing, I'm comfortable moving forward with the amendment. If other council members are not, we can have that discussion as well. But at this point, I would make my motion to amend the ordinance number 89-2020.
And it was seconded by Councilwoman Halter. Councilman Lewis, are you okay with this, voting on this amendment?
It's been motioned and seconded, so.
Okay, roll call.
Do this.
Greg,
No.
Halter,
Yes.
Hernkane,
No.
Lewis,
No.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
No.
Starrett,
Yes.
Starrett,
No.
Creamer,
No.
that would be 3 yes and 6 no to the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The amendment has been vetoed. Councilwoman Starrett?
Thank you, Madam President. At this point, I will give this ordinance first reading tonight so we can hash this out at the next council's work session.
Thank you. Ordinance number 89-2020 has received first reading. Ordinance
Madam
number,
President,
yes,
this is Linda Littman. May I make a comment?
yes, please.
The way that this was handled by, I'll say our previous law director, could that be, if there are still questions and issues as to what this is to accomplish, would perhaps Mr. Bartos and or Mrs. Starrett bring that process to our next work session? I think that might be, and I'll say a little more clear as to why this is kind of accomplishing the same thing, even though we've had 2 pieces of legislation in the past. And this is sounding sort of like an unknown, but being a council member at that point in time when we had other properties that we were doing the same thing to, it's clear to me that prior process and what Mr. Bartos is suggesting at this point accomplishes the same thing, just in two different ways. So I think perhaps some of our new council members maybe will feel more comfortable with that process that has been done previously than our newly suggested process.
Thank you.
Madam President, I just wanted to recommend that maybe we consider having a special meeting on Monday so that we can get this cleaned up, get it amended, and have a vote on it, and not waste more time than is necessary, because obviously the longer we take, the more we pay in our bills when the ultimate goal is to have this property sold.
And what time would you like your special meeting? At
Well,
six-
that would be up to Ms. Sterrett to call, so I just want to make the recommendation.
Okay. Do you need a second on that? No.
Madam President, if I could just I will speak with Mr. Maley and make sure we get this worked out. And as soon as we can get it worked out, make sure we have the legislation proper by Monday before we call the special meeting. I think it would probably be okay, which I can do with him tomorrow.
Thank you. Anything else on ordinance number 89, 2020? Seeing none, we'll move on to ordinance number 90, 2020.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with Dominion Energy Ohio to grant a perpetual right-of-way and easement on parcel 100,00149, the former Affinity Medical Center parking lot on the east side of 8th Street Northeast, Massillon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardi?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. We discussed this in the work session. Mrs. Sylvester, would you like to just recap this again for us, please?
Thank you, Barb.
Thank you. Actually, I will let Mr. Maley recap the presentation that was made by the person from Dominion, if you'd like to do that, Mr. Maley.
Yes, I can do that, Ms. Sylvester. Basically, what we discussed last week was Dominion, East Ohio, was looking to work on a line. There's a gas line that currently runs just south of the hospital property building, not the property, but the building itself. They are going to abandon that line and move. There's a what they call an M&R station, which basically deals with the amount of pressure, a pressure station that's located in the back rear of the hospital in the building, actually almost attached to the hospital. They are going to relocate that across 8th Street on the southwest corner of the parking lot that we own, and take a 15 by 15 easement in that parking lot to put the facility there, abandon the line, except for the line that actually powers or distributes gas to the hospital. That will still be active as long as the hospital is still operational.
Councilman Lombardi?
Yes, thank you. Are there any questions from anybody on council? Seeing none, then I ask that we ordinance 90, 2020 forward for a vote and a vote to suspend the rules for 3 readings.
Madam President, this is Linda Lettman. I will second that.
Thank you. Roll call for suspension.
Halter,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer, and
Yes.
Gregg.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Halter.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 90, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 91, 2020.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to advertise for and receive sealed bids and to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder upon the approval of the Board of Control for the 2020 Spring Hill Settlement Under Drain Installation Project, Phase 3, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Barrett?
Thank you, Madam President. I believe this is, any questions can be directed to our engineer, but this is something that's been in the works and we just need to move this forward. Mr. Popeil still online?
Yeah, I'm here. No new changes since we last. This is an excellent project to address the drainage and pavement issues.
Any questions from council? Councilman Barrett?
Seeing none, I make a motion that we waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance number 91, 2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by?
Jill Creamer.
Thank you. Roll call for suspension.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman, Lombardi, Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett, Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
and Hernkane.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
I'm done. What's up?
And for passage.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes?
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg, Halter,
Yes.
yes, Hernkane,
They did acknowledge that residents had the wrong number.
Hernkane,
If the community member could mute their mic, I'd appreciate it. Go ahead, Diane. Sorry.
once again, Hernkane
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 91, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 92, 2020.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to advertise for and receive sealed bids and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder upon the approval of the Board of Control for the 2020 Augusta Drive Southeast Under Drain Installation Project, Phase 2, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
No, that's Councilman Lombardi. Apologize.
Okay, you had it under finance. Councilman,
I'm sorry. Streets and highways.
Councilman Lombardi.
That's it. I didn't correct that. 92. Streets and highways is Barrett.
Yes, ma'am.
Barrett.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Barrett.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. This is a similar project that's just on Augusta Drive, as I understand, and Mr. Popeil explained that to us, that we want to move this along. So are there any questions of Mr. Popeil? Seeing none, I make a motion that we waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance 92-2020 forward for a vote.
Second.
Go ahead.
Jill Creamer.
Seconded by Councilwoman Creamer. Roll call for suspension.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Hernkane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Littman.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Hernkane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 92, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 93, 2020.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 12/20 foreclosure property administration fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, Madam President, I would call up, I believe, Mr. Maley.
Mr. Maley, if you would.
Yes, Mr. Lewis, I'm not handling that particular ordinance. I think Ms. Sylvester could speak to it, or Ms. Boron.
Thank you. Either one will do, Madam President.
Whoever can speak to it, if you would, please.
That request for ordinance was presented from Judge Elam from the courts. Ordinance number 94, 2020.
We're on 93.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Ms. Kataginis Boron. I can speak to that. This is a
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a state-approved fund that is for code enforcement only. The funds are being transferred so that we can continue to do property cleanup and possible assessments. Property cleanup consists of dumpsters, tree trimming, and yard cleanup. We do go out and try to get the residents to do what we need them to do first. If not, then we order the different services to get those properties cleaned up as soon as possible. The taxes are assessed on that. To date, this particular fund from a revenue is about 149%. So this is a transfer so we can continue the cleanup in the city.
Thank you. I just
Lewis?
wanted that for the record. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis, this is
Yes.
Walter.
I just want to mention that I'm very involved with code enforcement. This money is needed in order to be able to, as it says, to be able to get dumpsters and so forth. So I would like to see this be passed under first reading. Thank you.
Councilman Lewis?
Mr.
Question,
Gray
Mr.
has
Lewis.
his hand up.
Councilman Graybu?
Great.
Councilman Gregg?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Lewis and President Nisnik. My question is just the nature of these properties. Are these the fund mentions foreclosure, but what exactly is the nature of these properties? Are they abandoned properties? Can you, Mrs. Kataginis-Boron, could you expand on that?
I can talk to what I know. If I need to get more information from Jimmy Johnson, I will. It's my understanding these are all types of properties, whether they be abandoned or whether they be properties that are occupied. It's my understanding that a lot of these properties that come are complaint driven. So that if we need more information on that, I can always reach out to code enforcement.
So you're saying these could be occupied properties that the individuals just aren't keeping up and are violating city ordinances or city codes and have to be addressed. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes,
Right,
Mr.
thank you.
Gregg, that's correct.
Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Councilwoman Halter?
Thank you very much. Mr. Gregg, I can answer that. Just for an example, there's a house in my neighborhood that has been abandoned, and they have already used 2 dumpsters there to clean it out. And it's still not cleaned out. We're still doing a lot of work on it. So this is a problem all over Massillon. There are abandoned houses. There are some rental properties, and we need to clean up the neighborhoods. So we need to get this money for code enforcement so they can continue their work. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one follow-up question.
Go ahead.
Are once these monies are expended, are these costs or the expenses assessed to the taxes for the property, or is this money just coming out of city council or out of general fund and never being replenished.
Mr. Gregg, these taxes are assessed. If the city needs to order those dumpsters and get the cleanup, the taxes are assessed, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam President?
Councilwoman Littman?
Thank you. I do have one question. Lori indicated that this balance was 149% of what is expected. Are you indicating that once we expend these funds that it will bring those that line item down to zero, or is this less than the balance that's in there?
It's less than the balance that's in there, Ms. Littman.
And what remains?
Right now, I'm asking for $4,500. Right now, the unexpended balance in that account is $67,054.65.
May I ask one more question?
Yes, Councilwoman Littman.
Thank you, President Eisnick. Is there a reason why we've chosen 4,500? Have we assessed the properties and valued what we need, thus came up with the 4,500 that needs to be spent? Or is this sort of a phase one to additional expenses to help to clean up the city?
That would be a question we would need to ask code enforcement. Mr. Johnson had requested that was what he needed to accomplish what was out there going forward. So if we want the specifics on that, we need to get a hold of Mr. Johnson and ask him those questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lewis?
Yes, I make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bringing ordinance number 93 to a vote.
Seconded by?
Councilwoman Sterrett.
Roll call for suspension?
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter. Yes. Hearn King,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
and Sterrett.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage?
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter. Yes. Hearn King,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
and Sterrett.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 93, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 44, 2020, 94, 2020.
An ordinance making certain transfers in the 2020 appropriations from within the 1100 general fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, this is transferring $23,102 out of the 1100-125 and placing it into the 1100-135. Because it's changing from the 125 to the 135, we have to vote on it. This is coming from the municipal court, and they need this transfer in order to cover benefits. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bringing ordinance number 94-2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by?
Mike Gregg.
Roll call for suspension?
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter. Yes. Hearn King,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
and Kramer.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage?
Halter. Yes. Hearn King, Lewis,
Yes.
Yes.
Littman, Lombardi.
Yes.
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
9 yes, 4 passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 94, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 95, 2020.
An ordinance making certain transfers in the 2020 appropriations from within the 1100 General Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, this is a transfer of $775 to go to economic development salary. This is caused by essentially when there was a retirement and then a rehire. Ms. Sylvester or Ms. Boron, are you able to speak to this?
Yes, Mr. Lewis, this is Ms. Cottaguese-Boron. I can speak to this. What happens is this was a rehire. When the calculations were made, this was not in the budget at that time. When you do the calculations on any type of retirement, it also includes the Medicare payout, which is what this $775 is. At the time of that, the decision was made to take it from the salary line to pay at that payout time. So now that needs to be reimbursed from the salary line. So that is what we are doing with the $775. Most times when you have a rehire, or any type of retirement, it is not a department that has a single person, so this does not come up very often. But when you have a department that has basically one person in it, if the calculation for the Medicare is a little off, you see this type of transfer being requested.
And this retirement happened this year?
The retirement happened at the end of last year. The payout was this year.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? I make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bringing ordinance number 95-2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by.
Starrett.
Roll call for suspension.
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Halter.
Yes.
9 yes, 4 suspension.
And for passage.
Lewis, Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Yes.
Starrett, Barrett,
Yes.
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
and Hearn Kane.
Yes.
9 yes, 4 passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 95, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 96, 2020.
An ordinance amending section 1 of ordinance number 125-2005 pertaining to establishing a fund entitled Veterans Park and Duncan Plaza Repair and Improvement Fund.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, this just cleans up the language of the name or title of a fund that already exists. This is at the request of the municipal court, who does use their volunteers and other fundraising efforts in order to maintain Veterans Memorial Park. Are there any questions or discussion this evening? Seeing none, I make a motion we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bringing ordinance number 96-2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by.
Mike Gregg?
Roll call for suspension.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Hearn Kane,
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes.
9 yes, 4 suspension.
And for passage.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Hearn Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
And Littman.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 96, 2020 is passed. Resolution number 14, 2020.
A resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to take all actions necessary to effect a governmental electric aggregation program with an opt-out provision pursuant to Section 4928 of the Ohio Revised Code, the aggregation program, for residents, businesses, and other electric consumers in the City of Massillon and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to ask Mrs. Sylvester, did we get any details on this as far as rates or anything concerning that?
No, we do not. This is the resolution basically to allow me to go out and to get different rates and to search and find the best broker to give us the best rates through the process.
Okay. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I make a motion that we bring resolution number 14-2020 forward for a vote and ask that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings.
Madam President, this is Linda Littman. I will second that.
Thank you. Roll call for suspension.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Kernking,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer, Gregg,
Yes.
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Kernking,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
and Starrett.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution number 14, 2020 has passed. Resolution number 15, 2020.
A resolution requesting that the Director of the Ohio Department of Transportation determine and declare a reasonable and safe premium posse speed limit for a portion of State Route 172, Lincoln Way Northwest within the City of Massillon and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Councilman Ferret.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not sure where this came from. It says from Ohio ODOT, so apparently they have done a study out there and deemed this a better way to go. And I think it's probably correct because the speed out there is pretty fast. Are there any questions? Any contributions here?
Madam President.
Councilwoman Littman.
Thank you. Yes, I will just comment that this area is in the 6th Ward out here on the west side. The area is from Kenyon to 1/4 mile Route 93. Sections of that area are city streets. I have received several phone calls asking me in general to try to reduce the speed in that area. So I will certainly be in favor of this, as will many of the residents that are in the Lanedale, Westbrook area. They often see motorists that are going 55 in that area right now try to turn into a 25-mile-per-hour neighborhood. And more often than not, they don't slow down enough for the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit in the neighborhood. As you probably know as well, there was within the last month, a very sad accident that happened at the 93 intersection where a young motorcyclist had passed away. There was another accident that was there, again, because the speed is 55 miles per hour at that intersection, 93 and Lincoln Way. So my comments are just to say that I do believe that it is a very good idea to reduce the speed in this area, as well as perhaps other areas in the city, but this one in particular. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Barrett?
Thank you, Madam President. Seeing no other questions or comments, I make a motion that we waive the rules requiring 3 readings here also, and bring ordinance, a resolution number 18-2020, 15,
Number 15.
15, right? 15, 2020, up for a vote.
Seconded by
Jill Creamer.
roll call for suspension.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Hernkane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
and Barrett.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Hernkane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution number 15, 2020 is passed. Is there any unfinished business?
No, there is not.
Are there any petitions and general communications?
No, there are not.
Are there any bills, accounts, and
No,
claims?
there are not.
Are there any reports of city officials?
Yes, we have the treasurer's report for August 2020 and the auditor's report for August 2020.
Councilman Lewis, we need a motion to accept the auditor's report.
I make a motion to accept the auditor's report.
Seconded by
Councilwoman Starrett.
roll call.
Halter,
Yes.
Hernkane,
Yes.
Lewis, Littman,
Yes.
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
9 yes to accept the auditor's report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The auditor's report has been accepted. Reports of committees. Our next committee meeting will be next Monday, September 28th, possibly in council chambers. But if it is going to be, whether it's a council meeting or a committee meeting, if you are not comfortable coming in, you may still stay at home and call in. It is not a requirement that your presence is there. Anyone else have anything? Resolutions and request of council members. No.
Madam President, Mike Gregg.
Councilman Gregg.
I just wanted to mention that I have received information or a ordinance, actually change for city council. I've received that, and we will be discussing that on Monday as part of the Rules and Courts Committee meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, there are no second reading ordinances, no third reading ordinances. Nothing's been tabled. Ordinance number 86, 2020.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Massillon, Ohio to submit applications for funding to the Ohio Public Works Commission for the funding year 2021 and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, this is just authorizing an application for projects that the city is looking into completing related to Warmington Road and also related to what has been stated as Lincoln Way or Streetscape Phase 3, which would be continuations with some paving on Lincoln Way, some underground utilities and lighting and sidewalks. Again, these are the applications. It's the first step into seeing if we are able to obtain any funding from Ohio Public Works. Are there any questions? Mr. Thayer has his hand.
Councilman Barrett?
Yes, and I thank you for getting us the punch list from phase 1, which is far from complete at this point in time. So I would like to see us complete phase 1 before we get into phase 3. And I don't see any reason to hurry into it because according to this list, we've got a good ways to go yet. Thank you.
Councilman Lewis?
If there's no other questions, I would make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bringing ordinance number 86-2020 forward for a vote.
Roll call, or a second?
Councilwoman Starrett.
Roll call for suspension?
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Starrett,
No.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Halter.
Yes.
8 yes and 1 no for suspension.
And for passage?
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Starrett,
No.
Kramer, Gregg,
Yes.
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
and Hearn Kane.
No.
7 yes and 2 no for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 86-2020 has passed. Resolution number 13-2020.
A resolution authorizing the sale during calendar year 2020 of city-owned motor vehicles and pieces of related equipment which are not needed for public use or are obsolete or unfit for the use for which they were acquired by internet auction and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes. Are there any discussions or questions this evening? Seeing none, I make a motion we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bringing resolution number 13-2020 forward for a vote.
Second by?
Mike Gregg.
Roll call for suspension?
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Hearn Kane, and Lewis.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Hearn Kane,
Yes.
Lewis, and Littman.
Yes.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution number 13-2020 has passed. Am I the only one that must be on a time delay? It sounds like from my end that Diane's reading the next person's name before I heard the previous person vote. Is that just at my end? Is anyone else hearing that? Okay, we're at number 17 on the agenda where citizens can comment on any item that does not appear on tonight's agenda. Same as number 5. If you wish to do so, please state your name, address, and topic you wish to discuss. Again, this is on topics that did not appear on tonight's agenda. The progressive property on the corner of Hills and Dales and Wales is not able to be discussed, but it will be able to be discussed again at our next council meeting. So does anyone want to speak?
President, may I speak? This is the mayor.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you very much. I wanted to thank council for passing the ordinance tonight to submit for Warmington Road and the Imagine Phase 3, really extension of Phase 1. But we have to clarify that. It is very important that we continue to take care of our downtown because it does entice businesses to come to Massillon. Some of the things that I wanted to share with council very quickly, that punch list, we are addressing that and we hope to have that rectified soon. But there have been many instances that we have fixed things in neighborhoods. We spent $10,000 on University Drive Southeast. There was an area undermining a pavement. We fixed that. Ledgewood Boulevard, 44,000. Williams and Reservoir Drive, 10,000. Noble Place, 11,000. So we have been investing in our neighborhoods, and the list goes on and on and on. That's in addition to $3 million on our roads this year and approximately 500,000 in our catch basins. What I do want to do tonight, if you allow me, is to commend our staff. We have a small staff in the city of Massillon, but they are all working extremely hard. The engineering department, the safety service director, our budget director, everyone is working hard. And when there's negativity, it really deflates our staff's morale. And I just want to thank council for seeing the progress that the Imagine project has done in the city. It is making a huge difference. If we can get apartments in the second floors, we transform our downtown. And so we have to continue to drive that because that is the vitality of our city. So I just want to thank council once again. I do appreciate understanding the necessity of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else?
Madam President.
Yes. State your name.
Scott Graber, 1218 Tremont Avenue Southwest.
Go ahead, Scott.
The reduction of the speed limit from 55 to 35 in a section of Lincoln Way is a very nice thing to do. But if there's no enforcement of the speed limit, you just wasted your time. The Massillon Police Department is unable to keep the speeds in 25 mile per hour zones all over the city of Massillon below 35 to 40 miles per hour. So go ahead and change the speed limit. But if there are only one speeding ticket written per day for the entire 20 square miles of the city of Massillon, and the Massillon Police Department feels like that's doing a good job, I think we're in serious trouble. Along those lines, this is the 21st of September. You have 6 more regular meetings of council till year's end. If the city council is to take up the tax budget and make any adjustments to that tax budget for the appropriations ordinance for 2021, you must do it now. You cannot wait until the last minute and then expect to be able to manage and control the finances of the city. There are pressing needs that had been discussed previously, such as animal control, such as purchasing passive speed control equipment for the city. There are also issues with dispatching in the city of Massillon. If you would want to make an adjustment to the contract with Logic, which nobody wants to talk about, to bring non-emergency dispatching into the city of Massillon and under your control, instead of being managed by a regional council of governments that nobody even knows exists, now is the time to do it. And in order for you to do that, you have to resist the tendency to allow the administration to dictate your agenda. And that is in the committee meetings. And I appreciate I know you have a full plate right now to take you through the end of the year. But I just want to suggest, if it's going to happen, that this council takes control and takes the management and control of the finances and property of the city, now is the time that you have to do it. And that means you cannot allow the agenda to be dictated to you. And thank you very much for your kind attention, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Scott. Anyone else?
Madam President, I just want to be very quick here. LJ DeLuca, 2954 Veterans Boulevard, Southeast, Massillon, Ohio. I want to thank you. Madam President, for all you do. You get back with me where some people don't. You get back with me quite a bit. And I also want to have special attention and recognition for Diane Rowland, the Massillon City clerk, because she does a wonderful job and gets back with me all the time and presents all the information. And I know that Scott that just talked and other people have told me that both you and Diane do a really good job. And thank you very much, Madam President and Diane Rowland. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none. Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, Madam President. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Seconded by
Linda Lettman.
Meeting adjourned.